Hi Ceramics One. I am going to quickly demo how to make a pinch pot. When you get a hunk of clay, and if it's in this shape, you want to make it into a sphere. Now, if you have a piece of clay that's straight off the block, like this is, you don't have to wedge it. However, if you've got Frankenstein clay, that's, two pieces of clay that have kind of been like mushed together, or maybe you had something that you folded in and of itself, you're going to have to spend some time wedging that to make it a homogeneous piece of clay so that there aren't any air bubbles in the middle. But for this purpose, I chose some clay that is, again, fresh off the block. So it's already mixed. All the air's been sucked out of it. So I'm just going to worry about getting it into a sphere just by knocking it around like this. So just tapping it and maybe rolling it. I find that this doesn't work that well. It just kind of gets a point there. A technique that I like to use is exactly what I am doing, which is just kind of making it go back and forth. Once you get to a point where you've got a pretty good even sphere, you're going to take your thumb and you are going to cradle your piece of clay with your non-pinching or non-clay forming hand, and you're going to cradle it. And you're going to push until maybe you see your half of your knuckle or your whole knuckle. Also, you want to make sure that you can feel that pressure on your cradling hand. Okay, now I can feel the pressure, so that should be deep enough. Now what I can start doing is start pressing. And I'm really not pinching too hard, but the key to making a nice even pinch pot or a pinch bowl is to go slowish and to be consistent and to keep it moving. And that's what I'm doing. Now, when I push, I'm pushing down at the bottom, and my thumb is just pushing like this. Like this. So I'm opening up that bottom because I don't want too much clay at the bottom of this pinch bowl. All right, I can start picking up my thumb and going up the walls of this little bowl right here. And you'll see that maybe the top of it is curving over just a tad. And that's fine because we're going to work that out as we make our way up. But as you can see, I'm still cradling with my non-pitching hand. What I don't want to do is this and start working at it from all angles, because then you're just going to get the walls of your bowl inconsistent. If in your design you do want a flat bottom, that can happen later. But for right now, we're keeping both hands engaged. All right, so I've spent about maybe 10 minutes pinching this, and this is what it looks like. The thickness of my walls are about like this. So I still have some pinching to do because I really want the walls throughout my bowl to be about maybe half of my thumb width or thinner. Thinner is better. The reason being, then you don't have a heavy, lumpy bowl. If you see that there are cracks happening, because again, you're stretching clay when you're doing this, you can take your thumb or you can take a wet sponge and you can smooth or weld them together as you go. So there's some cracks right there. I'm going to weld those together. Some cracks right here. I can weld those together as I go. Still cradling the bottom of this with my non-pinching hand. I'm still pinching, still forming. I'm still working it around, keeping it moving. as I'm forming. When I get to this point, my hand kind of, like my 4 other fingers, kind of cradle the outside of this. If I want to thin out the top a little bit more, now would be a good chance to do that. I'm at a point where I like the shape of this, or I like the form of this rather. And I'm just going to continue to feel along the walls of this just to see if I can use my sense of feel to see if there are any like too thick areas or any areas that are a little bit inconsistent. At this point, what I'm going to do is, again, fix any cracks that might happen by welding, maybe smoothing with a sponge or a sponge on a stick. Another thing I can do is use one of these wooden things or a wooden rib tool to smooth with the side of this. Now you might lift up some clay during this process, that's fine. You just don't want to like dig into it. But these wooden things work pretty well for that, and the wooden rib tool. Here's a little thick area right here that I'm feeling that's a little inconsistent. Now, if let's say you have like a tear or something like this that you can't really like smooth out, you can use this is a scoring tool. So if I score this, mess it up, I can grab some clay. Just grab a little mush of clay, score that, score, do a little vinegar, and repair it. And then I would just use my thumb or my wooden thing to weld that on. And because I've scored it, again, that scoring acts as Velcro. All right, now maybe you don't like the way that the top of this looks. I personally like this, the way that it is going up and down. But if you want something that is straight, you can use a fettling knife and you can cut off the top. What you might want to do first is just incise a really light line. It's basically a line for you to follow. But here's the trick to this, is when you cut into it, I'm keeping my knife steady, but I'm moving the bowl. If I keep this at a constant, you'll have an even cut top. I'm pretty sure. Let's see if it meets in the same spot. Hooray, it did. Okay, so that's a little bit more even. And what I can do is take my sponge, my fingers, and maybe some water and start to smooth out the lip of this bowl. All right. Now this is pretty plastic clay, and I might even have better luck. Hey, MJ. Better luck, you know, letting this be a little bit harder as I'm smoothing it. Okay, but that's how you can get a nice even top to your bowl. Okay, so I've got a pretty good bowl. I'm gonna let this get a little leather hard. I might continue to smooth it, all these cracks out. Now I might want to even add a foot ring or some legs on to this, and that'll come in a different video.